and share. Again, this is about this drawing, one vector render behind Axon detail. So I'm just gonna create very fast. Imagine obviously your project is much more complex than this, and it has windows and it has stairs and it has a bunch of things, no? So I'm gonna just place randomly a couple of elements here. So there's a stair, there's a wall, there's a floor, there's a window. Maybe there's a floor at level 2. Etc. etc. So there's in your project you just have crazy forms, but you have pretty much the same ingredients that we have here. So the question is, I want the rendering of an axonometric view, and I want to place it underneath a very crispy, nice vector-based axonometric. So first thing will be to hide the views and have this ready in the view that you want it to be. You might want the view that is precisely on a particular angle, but you might want the isometric views, which is clicking on the box. Normally those are great because you can just orient them by one click of the button. You might also use like a particular angle for the isometric that is like more Egyptian look. But all of these options that are wonderful as almost like the save view in Rhino. No? You can do that and just remember where it is. But in general, what we're going to do is the file export DWG file. And it just wants to export the 3D, I'm going to place it on my desktop. Okay. And hopefully it works here. If I go to my Rhino, I can go import. If it works. And there we go. Notice that it has, this model has actually like these weird triangulations. This is somebody mentioned today, the idea of the mesh. It's the only way that it knows how to move, models from Revit to Rhino is by doing a mesh. So this actually is a mesh. So we have a model. So given that we brought from DWG a Rhino model, now you know what things you could do. For example, from the same view, and that would be isometric. I think it was northeast. We probably want to just match that same view. Nope. It's difficult to know that one. Probably the last one. There you go. Same view, same view. Everybody agrees? So the idea is to make 2D here, get line drawings, taking them to Illustrator, cleaning up the drawings, the lines, and from Revit, we take a simple rendering. We put them together in Illustrator. We cook a nice vector base with render behind type of drawing. Just to remember how that was back in the times of Revit. This is the Make 2D world. We only want the view. Say we obviously want hidden lines, maintain source layer. It's going to take a long time or longer time because the stair and many other things in your project might be very complex. And obviously there's a bunch of more layers. So there's a bunch of layers there. If we go to the top view, there we have it, Export, Illustrator, go desktop, 2D, 1, Illustrator. It's going to open. Meanwhile, I'm going to go to Revit and think about how I can render this. So you can probably just render it with a teapot, saying whatever quality you want. Maybe again, we're doing a very simple, like medium quality. for now and rendering with sun only because it's exterior. By the way, if you have a roof, maybe this is the point where you say, I'm gonna get rid of the roof. I'm not gonna have some of the walls, so you can just select some of the walls and hide the walls. So make sure that whatever is gonna render is actually showing things that we want to see in terms of interiority. You know? This is what really matters. You could do this, by the way, with also a section box of the axonometric, whatever clouds, and then you will render that. A couple things we don't want is like that background in a way. So maybe I'm going to escape that, go to the teapot, and notice under background, you can just say transparent here. So that could be probably even better because that would be like a PNG potential. So we don't have any problem with the background. Render again. It will be something like that. You can definitely adjust exposure a little bit, so you make it a little brighter, lighter, or darker. No, if you want to make it like very abstract, maybe the brighter tones are better, stronger shadows. Maybe you want a bit like darker. So those were the highlights, and this is the shadows. So you can chill this once. Once you have that ready, you like the tone that it has. I will go to the high or even best, but like high probably is enough. Okay, so what you do is export this PNG to the 2. And again, you probably know the story. Open the InDesign, the Illustrator file, sorry. Has a bunch of layers. Remember how big is your drawing in the panel, then you might want to create a different template for this. Scale the drawings, remember always pressing Shift. And this is the time when you start organizing your layers. So all of the hidden ones, I would recommend to place them underneath all the way to the bottom, and the visible ones all the way up. So it is logically consistent, no? Great, that looks perfect. Now we have this funky thing. I don't need to say what are the obvious things here. So fixing lightweight, the tones, maybe you want to be a bit more playful with color, but I think black, thin lines for visible. If there's any section, a little thicker, and then again, if it's hidden lines, just smaller and thinner and light gray kind of drawing, no? And also, needless to say, you place the rendering. Now you need to create probably another layer, call it image, place it all the way in the bottom and make sure that the image actually goes there, and scale it until they are happily ever after married together. This is where the tricky part starts. Notice that the resolution is not great. That's why it shows all of those bubbles. It's not fitting perfectly, so that's something to change a little bit better. And you will have this kind of a nice, clean, mixed of vector base and rasterized render behind, which I think it's a fantastic type of drawing to present to a final presentation studio. No? Another way you can do this is that you might not need to take it to Rhino at all. Maybe you just go, if you're here, and print. Maybe you want to print as PDF this particular view, which is that one. Print PDF. You get this 2D drawing that is vector based because it's a PDF. Don't turn on the shadows because that will make a raster. Just like this. Again, print PDF of this view. And then what you do is you take that PDF to Illustrator and you place behind those vectors the rendering. The inconvenience of that, I think it's obvious, is you won't get any layers, so you won't be able to play with the layers. Maybe you want to make one of the walls thicker for whatever reason, or do something with the vectors, like creating some fillet or something, I don't know. So with the print PDF, you won't get the layers, which is a bit more tricky to edit in Illustrator afterward. While as you making it DWG, Rhino, Make 2D, you get all of the layers, and it's a very clean drawing as well. Okay, we also talked about the image behind could be a rendering, but it could be as simple as one of these consistent colors, if you like this one for whatever reason, or the hidden one, or any of these images, even with shadow. Maybe this is the type of drawing you want. You can go to File, Export, go down to that little arrow and says Image. You can save this image. Okay, and that allows you to save only this as a JPEG or as a PNG or whatever it is that you want. So you can have this PNG option here, PNG option here, and then you can zoom 100, whatever. And this is just a simple way to save images directly from Revit and then use them for whatever you want it to be, you know, so that you can say current window and then save that PNG. If you want to get that nice resolution of PNG, you might want to go to 300. And let's see how that works. Say OK. One thing I didn't check is where is it saving it? Desktop project 1. Let me see if I can find it now. Desktop project 1. This is your PNG. So that would mean that I can replace this guy. I think I can replace here directly. No. File, place, project 1. This is the one I exported as the image. And there you go. Another beautiful, I mean, not necessarily beautiful, but very sharp and clean. That could fit perfectly with your vector-based type of drawing. And I can assure you, your studio professors are going to love this type of drawings. Sometimes they're too strong and you want the vector to be a bit more clear. You can select the image only and go to here. It's transparency. If you can't find that, it's under window transparency, and then make that like a 50 or 60 or whatever. See how that would respect much more the line drawing, which is another thing that, again, your crits are gonna love. Okay, this is just as simple now to save as PDF, and you can place it in your panel in your design with the rest. So I was hoping for, as an extra credit, that some of you might decide to create this very simple drawing and dedicate a bit of time to what is the image behind those vectors and how do you create those vectors through Rhino, through Illustrator, as we have done so many times in the past, and it should be like quite fast now that you know how to do it. Okay. Perfect. So I'm going to stop that.
So